helmet off.
I have shifted another television around so that Alex can now see it.
Very kind. Very kind.
It might play havoc with the commentary cam. Yes, it did. I knew it would.
There you go.
Oh, I can see you
I'm
now.
not sure it's improved things. Got a lot of stick earlier on. This is what happens. This is Crofty vision. This is what we're looking at.
The glamour
Crofty
is all
vision.
too much.
This is basically what happens when you break the commentary box and I have to make arrangements so that you can see the television.
I quite like this. It's quite good. You can see to the timing office as well. Hello to timing.
Max Verstappen is shaking his head at the screen now when you guys are on.
Is he really?
Yeah,
We've
I'm
lost
teasing
Max.
you, I'm
We've
teasing you.
lost Max.
We've lost Max and we've lost half the viewers now who think that some buffoon is in the box. But there you go. This I'm loving as well. Rosanna, thank you very much for the time being.
Well, speak to you later.
Cheers. Sarah Jane Hill. F1 testing is ruining my marriage. I've literally done nothing all day. Husband won't appreciate the fact I've spent my day off doing no housework or laundry or tea preps. Loving F1. Love the coverage. Keep it up. Sarah, just tell your hubby that you know, you could make tea, or he could just do it
Priorities.
himself.
I think Sarah's got it bang on.
Absolutely.
Personally.
Mark Chadbourne, F1 testing, fitting in well with my life. Watch from 8 till 12, take my wife to the hospital. Watch from 1 till 5, pick up wife sorted. Hope your wife is feeling an awful lot better. And great to have you guys back on the TV. It says formulacareers.com. One piece of advice, or what piece of advice would you give to any students watching who want to do what you guys do in the future? I'll tell you what, we'll answer that question for you in a moment, but first, back down to Rosanna.
Right, let me. I'm just walking into the Mercedes garage like I own the place, but James Allison is. He's over. Oh, hello. So he's just coming over to the engineering station. Have you got me now? Good afternoon, James Allison. Thanks for coming to join me mid-test, which I know is fairly hectic. How's today going?
It's going pretty well, but there's a decent number of laps on the board. Both drivers been in the car, both of them pretty comfy with it. Lewis is beefing a bit about the fact there's a load of hot air blowing out of a crack, well, not a crack, in a cable duct that's making him pretty uncomfortable, but the rest of it's going pretty well.
Does that kind of thing worry you, though? You seem fairly relaxed in your body language now.
The hot thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally standard. Yeah, beginning of the year, there's nearly always some bit of hot stuff coming out of the engine area and giving the drivers a bit of grief.
Now tell me, you are racking up the mileage. Is there at any point, is there a point where you think actually we need to slightly steady on and not do too much? Is it just about managing tyres so you don't run out of it?
Well, we've only got 6 days. And we want to try and get as much load on the car in these 6 days as we did last year in 8. So that puts a fair burden on needing to pump out the miles. We got we got a reasonable allocation of tyres to get through this winter testing with, so no, the more we can do, the merrier.
And what about competitors then? Have you had a chance to look down the pit lane? Obviously you can look at the timings all you like, but any cars that are worrying you in terms of a threat this year?
Not really had a chance to look at that yet and digest it, because everyone always talks about fuel loads. We start to be able to intuit the fuel load as the days unfold. At the beginning, your band of error is so big you could just get depressed or unduly happy, and best not to have an opinion at the moment.
So where are you on the happy scale today?
Well, pretty happy, but not by comparing to competitors. Happy because both the drivers are saying nice things about the balance of the car and feeling confident in it. It's not got any ugliness so far, so that's a good thing.
That sounds lovely. Well, I'll let you get back to it. Thanks for coming to join us. A little bit of a grab and go there. Thank you, James. Back to you in the commentary box.
Thank you very much, James Allison. Thank you very much, Rosanna Tennant. As we look at the laps completed there, Hamilton on 53, Bottas on 79, then make our way down. Fantastic stuff. Now Sainz with the most laps of the day, and they will be delighted with that. With McLaren, step forward last year, looking to continue that momentum. The ground they have to try and eat into, though, very, very difficult to improve. Trying to close down that gap to the big three, to Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull, of course. Few people have been saying, oh, it's another Mercedes 1-2, what a surprise. But we are early stages of F1 in 2020. Long way to go, lots to be decided. And remember, we all left here 1 year ago thinking Ferrari were going to dominate in Melbourne, and that did not happen.
I've just put it on Instagram. I think that's a nice picture of you. Crofty F1, if you want to see a picture of Alex and 2 televisions with nothing on them. It's on Instagram now, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly think that's got your better side as well.
I'm not sure there is a better side at this stage of the
I've
season.
taken years off you with a bit of careful editing.
Have you put a filter on it? This is what people want. This is what people want. The start of the year.
Right, so Formula1careers.com. What piece of advice would you give to any students watching who want to do what you guys do in the future?
Give it 20 years.
Yeah, please wait until Alex and I have finished paying our mortgage. That would be good. Look, the best piece of advice I can ever give anyone in any career they ever go into is never accept no as an answer. If you believe that you can do it, you get out there and do it and prove to people that you are good enough. And there are many, many ways to go and do that. We could spend hours talking about it, but back yourself.
Where did you start, Mr. Croft?
Well, like yourself, hospital radio. Did a bit of hospital radio, and then I got very lucky indeed. I got into journalism through a friend of mine asked me to write about Stevenage Borough for the local newspaper.
Didn't know that.
And met people and started work on my local radio station and just worked my way up through there. With a load of people telling me, no, you're never going to go any further, and not believing anything they said, and obviously just backing yourself. And yourself?
BBC Local Radio.
Yep.
Radio Suffolk.
Radio Suffolk.
Always try to drop Radio Suffolk in there because they gave me my start. Very much appreciated that. Not only that, lent me radio equipment. It's the expensive side of it. So I could go and cover other sporting fixtures, races, whatever around. And very grateful to them. And it's getting as much experience as possible.
Exactly.
You do not want to be making your mistakes high up the ladder. You want to be making your mistakes.
Oh, we still do, though.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. You absolutely cannot commentate without making a mistake. But no, you want to get as much experience in as possible. So local radio is a really good route. Esports, there's a lot of leagues out there. There's a lot of championships for esports. It's a good way to get started these days if you want to be a motorsport commentator. But as I say, give it at least a decade, will you? Because this is a terrific job.
It's awful. You've only just started in Formula One. What, 3 years now?
This is year 6.
No.
Yeah, I just ignored you for the first 2. It's fine.
No, you didn't. I saw you in Bahrain for your first go. And honestly, time has completely flown by.
It has done.
Yeah, you've only just started to like it. You're only just starting to get into this now.
Yeah, feet under the table.
Yeah, mate,
but give it a go. Give it a go. If you think you can do it, that's half the battle.
Exactly. And I've not had a chance to say this on air. I know we've had a chat off air. I thought you were outstanding last year. Certainly at special times of the year and certain times of the year. I thought you were absolutely outstanding.
That is very kind. I'm slightly confused why you started to be sincere.
Well, I'm being sincere.
I'm slightly worried now.
Oh, no. What the Lord giveth, he taketh away eventually, as they say. But no, you had difficult situations that we've all had to overcome. Yeah. And at times I thought the words were completely right.
Appreciate that.
We've had that conversation
and we'll look forward
as well.
Shall we?
Yes. That's one of the things I love about covering motorsport, and I actually think it keeps you very much young at heart, is it's very much a community that is continually looking forward in life.
That is true.
Yeah, I mentioned Toto Wolff this morning saying that we might have 6 double world championships, but they count for nothing. Now we go and get number 7. We belong to a community that never rests on its laurels. It is always looking for the next opportunity, the next race, working towards the next season. James Allison knows that full well. Won't be at all surprised. Yeah, he is talking to Toto Wolff. I was going to say, if he's not in conversation with the big boss man. I saw James Allison, Toto Wolff, who smiled his back for the time being, and Andy Cowell, the MD at Brixworth, having lunch together. I had a quick exchange as I ran back out of the Mercedes motorhome with Andy. I said, "You happy this morning?" He went, "Yeah, no, I'm happy. This is going well." So.
And I think that applies to more teams than not down there in the pit lane. I think there's a lot of people hugely encouraged by the mileage they've been able to get. The reliability is the thing that's standing out for me so far. What was your prediction earlier about red flags?
We'll get a red flag 5 minutes from the end.
We will see.
I made that within about 2 hours of this morning.
Do we have I know Verstappen spun a couple of times. Do we have a red flag for that? Oh, Well, you're still on for it.
Managed to get to the pit lane. Someone will run out of fuel deliberately because they're just trying to check, what the proper economy rate is.
You're going to be so smug if you're right. Come on, guys, top it up. Top it up down there.
Crofty, have you acquainted yourself with calling Toro Rosso AlphaTauri? Yes, I have. Mean McFreeze. That doesn't mean to say in the heat of battle I won't refer to them as a Toro Rosso at any stage next year. Force India still going strong today, just to get all those tweets out of the way as well. But no, AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
I like it. When Racing Point become Aston Martin, I think that will trip off the tongue just a little bit easier as well.
Yeah, I think. Well, they never wanted to call it Racing Point, did they?
No.
They wanted to call it something else. Looked around at some historic brands, and they've found one.
Yeah, well, it was very much Racing Point was the name of the company that took over Force India.
Yeah,
and then they just couldn't think of anything better than Racing Point to mark the first season. So that's how it ended. Paul, how boring. No breakdowns, no engine failures, and super talented drivers. For an Alonso drama. Oh, you just can't fix some people sometimes, can you, Paul? And Alex Richards, as a motorsport student trying to get into F1 as a race engineer, testing as perfect motivation for my upcoming exam, if a little too distracting at times. Good luck to all of you with your exams that are coming up very soon. Crofty, is he wearing lipstick? No, I'm not, Keir. I'm not wearing... I'm not wearing lipstick at all, but I have had a lip mic glued to my top lip.
Yeah.
And it's probably rubbing quite a bit by now because, we've been talking a while.
You've been talking a while. I had a lovely lunch.
Did you now? The only day I'm able to watch testing this year is I'm at work for every other day, and I'm loving the commentary, says Lauren Barber. Pizza for lunch, F1 on the TV. What could be better?
Very little. I mean, I still remember the buzz of watching a practice session from Melbourne or a qualifying session in the middle of the night from Melbourne. I know there's many of you watching all around the world, but if you're in the UK and you're getting up nice and early, there's a real buzz. It's freezing in the house. You go downstairs, you put the TV on. Back in the day, phenomenal. Yeah. Murray Walker on the mic.
Absolutely.
Same sort of buzz today. Yeah. It is every single time we have new cars to look at. Every single time there are new stories, there are new narratives, there are new battles about to be had. You've got Mercedes trying to keep this ridiculous run going. You've got Ferrari under the never-ending pressure that nation delivers. They are, they're more. They are Italy's team. I mean, the scenes. Have you seen anything like that in Monza when Ferrari won last year?
Only when Michael Schumacher won and then announced his first retirement.
So 2006, so your first year.
Yeah, so that first year when Michael Schumacher won at Monza and then announced he was retiring, and the outpouring of emotion that day as well. But no, what I remember about the Charles Leclerc win there last year was the fact that the track was swamped with fans. They were having a great celebration. But they just kept on coming. The fans just kept pouring onto the track. It was utterly incredible, and you couldn't help but be swept up in it and feel great about the world. Here we were in Monza, the sun was shining, Ferrari were winning, and quite possibly the happiest national anthem combination that Formula One has ever had was ringing out. The Monegasque and Italian national anthem together, I could get used to that.
Yeah.
Purely and simply.
I think you might have to.
Well, yeah, I think we will. But purely and simply because they're just brilliantly happy national anthems, they're absolutely superb. The Austrian national anthem, with all respect to our Austrian viewers out there, it is not the most up-tempo, wonderful, happy tune.
We've got used to that. I think we're going to be hearing that a little bit more this year as well. So what do you think, in contrast to the scenes that we saw in Monza, what do you think Zandvoort is going to be like? Because so many people in the Netherlands applied for tickets.
Oh, millions.
That didn't get, a ridiculous percentage of the population wanted to be in Zandvoort in May. I think that's going to match it. I think it's going to be different, but I think it is going to be very, very loud.
Well, it is. I don't want to put a negative on it, but if Max Verstappen doesn't complete all the laps and get on the podium, there could be a few leaving early.
Yeah, we might not have the heli shots.
Exactly. Although, to be fair to the Dutch fan, when they're in the mood to celebrate a sporting occasion, they'll stay till the bitter end, and they will find an excuse to be happy. And I hope, I'm not going to say I want Max to win in Holland. It would be incredible to see that. but I hope that he puts and is able to put on a great display and relax enough to produce his best under what will be his most pressurised race of the season.
Yeah,
without doubt, because he knows everybody is there and this race is happening because of him. Now, I don't know if you or I could cope with that. I'm not sure I could.
Well, it's interesting. If you throw back to last year, Daniel Ricciardo in Australia, talking about doing just too much promotional work.
Yeah.
Head wasn't quite where he wanted it to be for the start of the season, important season for him. It will be interesting to see. That's the same pressure that Max is going to have, but there's going to be a lot of people there. It is going to be, it's going to be phenomenal, because when you just have the separate Max Verstappen grandstands, Austria is a great example of this, when they've got a huge grandstand on the infield. I mean, you can hear that. You can hear that up amongst the edge. I mean, it just gives you another spring when you're doing the battle between Leclerc and Verstappen last year. Big roar. Does he get it done? No. Defensive move. Only have to wait about a minute in Austria. Happens again. Big roar. I mean, the idea of that being every lap.
Fantastic.
It's going to be fairly special.
Should we get some orange trousers just for the hell of it? should we deck ourselves out in orange?
I think we might have to avoid orange to be seen to get through the masses. It's going to be amazing.
I was very lucky many years ago to work in Seoul during the 2002 Football World Cup, and I was based in Seoul for about 5 weeks, and I witnessed a nation that had never had a chance to celebrate a victory in a World Cup finals match. Not only celebrate a victory, but go on to reach the semi-finals and just have the most outstanding run at a World Cup, and a nation that found a togetherness through sports. And I was out one night, and I was watching one of the South Korea matches on the big screen, and then suddenly all the fans just headed for the metro system. I followed them and ended up in Gangnam. Before Gangnam Style became popular, I ended up in Gangnam, and there was like 8 lanes of highway all closed off with fans just celebrating in the streets. They were climbing double-decker buses and waving flags off the top. And, everyone was chanting and singing and just finding a reason for sport to bring them together to celebrate being South Koreans and being happy for what had happened. And what happens with Max Verstappen and Dutch sport in general, because they do like a celebration of sport, very much reminds me of what was going on in Korea then. And it's great to see.
Great example. And we saw at Budapest last year how many tickets went to Polish fans as well. So it's not just Verstappen that has a phenomenal following out there. And it is great to see. It is great that they're grouping those fans together at races.
Mean McFreeze tweets back to say that the Zandvoort race is a week before Eurovision. So the Netherlands will be very, very busy. Is Eurovision in Holland this year then?
I guess so. I'm not sure.
I missed last year's.
Did you?
As I'm sure did the voting jury when it came to giving marks to the UK Act. I don't think we did.
I don't think it's gone well for the last 20 years.
to be fair, even before Brexit, we were an absolute loser with that one. You are looking up the Eurovision Song Contest. I love this.
There we go.
Who won last year? So it's in Rotterdam. So it must have been the Netherlands that won it.
This is not the clearest written Wikipedia article. Let's assume it's there.
When you were doing your prep,
the winner was the Netherlands. There you are. It's in the 4th paragraph. That's why.
You were doing your prep for testing.
Yes.
Did you not think?
No.
He's going to ask me about Eurovision.
No, I've not covered all bases.
You see. Here's a bit of advice. Be prepared for everything.
Yeah, absolutely everything.
Oh dear.
Has Rosanna Tennant wandered down to another team in the pit lane?
Wow.
I mean, as good as this content clearly is.
Exactly. By the way, you missed the photo we got sent of the avocado slicer. I'll show you in a minute while we listen to Rosanna.
I'm going to hum you, the song Arcade, performed by Duncan Lawrence. But unfortunately, I'm more or less tone deaf right now, so you're just going to have to imagine it. But yes,
ruined it now.
I know, Arcade. We'll have to play it later on and get a real sense of it. But yeah, that was the song that won the Netherlands, the Eurovision Song Contest. This year is going to be the 65th edition of it. It's almost rivaling Formula One.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a history right there.
Formula One has got 5 years on the Eurovision Song Contest.
Who'd have thought it?
Absolutely. That is a magnificent segue.
That is a top segue.
As segues go, I never thought the two could be linked, but Rosanna, top mark.
That's all right. I'm here to please.
And you have.
How many points do I get for that?
Or at
Nil?
least
No, come on.
No, Dues point.
Ah.
Dues. Was there any other reason you were talking to us other than
No,
Eurovision?
I'm just so thrilled that I could offer something of note at this late stage of our first day of testing.
See, Rosanna gives us Eurovision, Ted gives us Dead Mouse. You know, Laura Winter's going to have to up her game on this one.
Look, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Not at all. I'm seriously impressed. If Laura Winter can give us some death metal quotes, that would be very good. I'd go with that one.
Full house.
Yeah,
Full house.
You're a top lady. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Rosanna Tennant down there. Brilliant, by the way, says not Theo Hilton. The minute I start to write something, to read something, it goes, Noah. Brilliant to listen to George Russell and the transparency he gives in his answers. It just makes it so much more interesting for us fans. Last year, Mercedes did a lot of sandbagging and testing. Do you expect them to do that again this year? And will other teams follow? Now, did Mercedes sandbag in testing, or did Mercedes just run around without low fuel and not running the soft tyres and just working on their reliability and testing their parts before they got to Australia? Because I think there's a difference.
Yeah, it's almost an old-fashioned term these days, isn't it? There's no real, especially with just 6 days of testing, there's no advantage to hiding your pace maybe in the way that there might have been before. They've got to get on with it, and we've heard that earlier today from Jolien. You've got quite a lot to get through, which is why I think we're seeing so much reliability. They cannot afford to lose big chunks of time, which is why I think we're seeing so much running. Highest lap count so far is 136. And I think 66 for a full race distance in the Spanish Grand Prix.
Mercedes are catching up, if not actually level at the moment. No, they're 10 laps behind. No. They are level with Bottas and Hamilton. They're in the pits at the moment. Verstappen's just come back out again, but they have done 136 laps. Verstappen's just gone ahead of Mercedes. While we've been talking, I'll keep an eye on the times, but they're not as important the times as you might think from a normal practice session. But Hamilton has gone a little bit quicker, 4/10 than his teammates Valtteri Bottas. This is Nicholas Latifi heading towards turn 13, and he has dipped a tyre onto the gravel, but then comes into the chicane. So where Verstappen had his spin, by dipping a left wheel onto the gravel, Latifi does it as well, but gets away without that spin, to be fair. Hour and a half to go of this testing session.
Did you say that with optimism, Crofty? Did you say that with a smile on your face? There is a smile on your face.
I've said everything with a smile on my face today. And so, race distances. It's like a double race distance for Mercedes and for Red Bull. Fiat in the AlphaTauri has gotten a race distance as well. Colin Bannon says, where have Toro Rosso gone? Sad to see them go bust. They didn't go bust. They're exactly the same team, just a different name. Red Bull have decided that the Toro Rosso name is no longer useful to them, so it's AlphaTauri instead.
But based in the same place and same staff, and same drivers.
Yeah, same ownership, same drivers, same team, just a different name. Antonio Giovinazzi.
Once it's in your head.
Can't change now. With the slowest time of the day, and only 39 laps this afternoon for the Italian in the Alfa Romeo. Kevin Magnussen's put 85.
In the paddock, still plenty of fans milling about as well. Natalie, looking at the action on the track, we're seeing a lot of reliability, aren't we? We had 3 red flags last year, none so far this year, touch wood.
It's so encouraging, isn't it? I mean, it's great to be back. It's great to have these incredible conditions, perfect really for testing. And to see Max Verstappen be the first to hit that race 66 lap mark was fantastic, and now he's up to about 135. I mean, the team are predicting he could do as many as 170 laps, which is fantastic when you consider he's had a couple of offs thrown in there as well. It's great. Carlos Sainz not far behind him on 133. So yeah, fantastic, a very productive day for most of the teams.
So Verstappen has spun out twice. What do you make of that? Is that him just pushing those limits?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's good to see, and this is a circuit which gives you a great kind of cross-section of everything you can expect through the year. The only thing I would say that isn't a sort of a direct correlation is the weather, it's the temperature. You know, we don't really go anywhere apart from Silverstone. As cold as here, I say that with a very proud big smile on my face, because I don't mind taking the cold for the sake of the Northamptonshire outdoors. But everything else, if you do well here, Barcelona, you can do well anywhere, because it's a good indication of how the car can fare.
We must talk about Renault as well. Ricciardo, I think, and look, magically placed right in front of Renault as well. Ricciardo, I think, 90 minutes late onto the track in a testing round where it's already a day short anyway. Track time is crucial. Is that costly to Renault, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think when we get to Australia, these will be long forgotten at that stage, but you know, obviously any track time is valuable. Great to see him get straight up there and hit the same mark as Esteban Ocon in terms of time. Really interested in how that relationship will develop, really interested in how Renault will go this season. It feels as if they may have to take a small step back before moving forward. They've replaced Nick Chester in the technical department with Pat Fry. How quickly will we see the impact of his appointment? Probably a year's time. And again, all the regulation changes coming in 2021. Who knows how much attention has already shifted onto that car. So, you know, it pains me to say it, because I really want to see them do well, particularly after a difficult year in 2019. But they may go backwards in order to go forwards. But ultimately, they've got to play the long game.
Yeah, and Alan Prost, pre-season as well, was saying that they have to be realistic. When we did see Daniel Ricciardo out on the track, he had that very special helmet, a tribute to Kobe Bryant. It's good to see that, you know, transcending F1 across all sports.
Daniel's a very creative guy. He loves to express himself through art and music, and Kobe Bryant was obviously a big hero of his as well. So, yeah, wonderful to see him channeling the Mamba spirit and, you know, keeping the great man's legacy alive.
And before we were chatting here, Lewis Hamilton was quicker than teammate Valtteri Bottas as well, although track conditions very much evolving as the temperatures go up.
Yeah, the temperature, I think, has gone up. Track temperature, at least, has gone up a lot quicker than people expected. But as I said, it's just a beautiful Spanish, crisp winter's morning. So it's sunny, it's warm, and it's offering them the chance of plenty of track time, which is what we all want to see.
Thank you very much.
And you put your coat back on, I noticed. She dared go out with the old short sleeves, and then I said, no. Yeah. Don't be silly now. Don't get ahead of yourself. Spanish Grand Prix, maybe.
No, I really did. And I thought, oh, you know, the air temperature's warm. Actually, no, it really isn't. The jacket came straight back on for this one. Let's get back to the action then on the track with your commentator.
Now, see, that's Natalie Pinkham, though, the most caring woman in the paddock there, looking after Laura. Maybe someone could go and put a coat on the back of Charles Leclerc, because he's out the car, Alex, and that Ferrari is back in the garage.
Yes, a long time before they sent him out this afternoon. Adjustments being made earlier on with the wall in place of the screen.
Well, there's no wall at the moment, so, which means Rosanna Tennant, who's down there, might actually know what's going on.
Oh, they're assembling the wall.
That is not a wall, Rosanna Tennant. You can see straight
wall.
in.
It's a human wall.
Well, she can see straight in. We just sadly can't hear from her at the moment. Rosanna, are you there?
I'm having all sorts of trouble with these buttons.
She's bobbing and weaving.
Can you hear me now?
Hello again.
Here we go. Sorry.
What can you see?
Well, I can see some Italian men's backs. They're doing their best to protect me from what is going on. I just asked Jock Clear what they're doing, and he said they're adjusting the rear suspension. But
what, at the side of the car?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Jock is telling me a little porky pie there, because I'm not sure I would. And obviously, I'm not trained in this area, but I'm not sure I'd be adjusting the rear suspension where they're doing it. So either they need a few handy hints from yours truly, or the lies continue down in the pit lane.
Adjusting the rear suspension and something else as well.
Yeah, maybe it's maybe that's what they're doing, and they're just saying one rather than both things to me. But yeah, Charles been sitting at the back of the garage for about 20 minutes-ish, something like that.
Is that battery area, Alex Jakes?
I was thinking it's sort of radiator area. There are a lot of pipes. Yeah, interesting one. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I'm not sure I believe everything that Jock Clear has to say.
Do you want to go and say that to his face?
Well, I said to him, I said, are you sure? He went, because I said, is this bad? Is it kind of bad, a little bit bad, medium bad? He went, no, not bad at all, just adjusting the rear suspension. I went, right, are you sure? He said, yeah. So look, the engine cover's going back on now, so you'll see that in a moment. But Charles now gone to the other side of the garage, because of course we only see the bit. Oh, here he comes. Oh no, he's actually going behind now. He's thumbs up to one of his guys and he's going behind the scenes. But of course the garages are bigger than we can actually see where the cars are, so there's a lot of space going on that we can't see, even though we've got good access this year. But yeah, the engine cover's going back on, all those wires and pipes have been put away, and yeah, the rear suspension's been adjusted just like that.
Thank you very much, Rosanna Tennant. We'll be back with you in a little while. And Eco says, what F1 race of 2020 do you bet will be the best amongst the French Grand Prix? Retweet layout Ferrari's 1000th race, or will it be Thailand, Zandvoort, or another race, and why? With all due respect to the French Grand Prix, I don't expect it to be the best race of the season.
No. Got a lot of combinations at that circuit.
A lot of combinations, but it's a test track and it's great for testing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's brilliant for racing.
Although, on the upside, after that race, they were all pretty good last year. That was like the low point, wasn't it, in terms of Formula One action. And even though we got a fairly decent last lap.
I would imagine Ferrari will be a little bit, upset's not the right word, but a little bit miffed that Canada is now not their 1000th Grand Prix.
Yes.
Unless China gets rescheduled before the Canadian Grand Prix, it'll be France instead for the 1000th race in the World Championship to feature Ferrari. Incredible, absolutely incredible. I'm looking forward to Zandvoort for the atmosphere. I look forward to Austin every year for the atmosphere of the racing. I look forward to Monaco because it's just bonkers.
It really is.
And yes, we're lucky and we're privileged to be there. And I know a lot of you think there is no place for Monaco in modern day Formula One, but I'm sorry, I would disagree with that. And it might be a bit of a procession, but it's a procession that could go wrong at any single stage of that race, and quite often does. So there's something unique about that. I love it. Monza is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Beautiful place to be. This will be the last year of record speeds at Monza for quite some time.
That's true.
With the regulations changing in 2021, so that is going to be absolutely incredible. Japan is always a fine race. Bahrain has become, modern day classics for me in the desert in Bahrain. But the race I'm looking forward to the most of all, and the one that I look forward to most of all each and every single year, is Silverstone. And apologies to the rest of the world if you think I'm just a bit of a homeboy here, but I am. I think Silverstone, where this World Championship started, is still the greatest track that we go racing on. Don't just ask me, ask the drivers.
It's a phenomenal track, and there's always so many of you at that circuit, creating a phenomenal atmosphere. Some of the biggest cheers I've ever heard from crowds have been at Silverstone.
Sensational.
I mean, the roar for Hamilton going wheel to wheel with Bottas last year, pretty special. Yeah, that was really, really electric.
But
stuff.
also the reaction of the fans when Sebastian Vettel crashed into Max Verstappen as well.
Yep.
It's not just the British drivers that get all the attention. Whatever's going on, the drivers get great support and brilliant reactions to what's happening.
It's absolutely true. There are so many. You listed so many good races there. You listed so many good races.
But that's the art of commentary, right? leave whoever's with you a tough choice to follow up. And come in, next guest. Ted Kravitz has just popped his head round the door.
Teddy's looking slightly apprehensive in a commentary box.
Well, he is. But did you notice that Ted Kravitz was here because you went silent for a start? Put his head round the door.
Wasn't expecting to see Ted up here, to be honest. That was the reason why.
Well, he did say that he did promise that he was going to come up. Yes, there's your microphone there, Mr. Kravitz. I'll turn the button on for you and I'll let you pick it up. Hi, you can talk. How are you?
I'm fine. I was actually looking to see where the location is for the Charles Leclerc press conference, which is at 10 past 7.
You appear to be lost.
I am lost. I wrote it down. It's at 7. Charles Leclerc is talking, unexpectedly, of course, because Sebastian Vettel will be the change of driver. And they've said, Ferrari have said that it's on the 3rd floor of the race control building.
Well, we're on floor 2.
Well, it depends if you're in Europe or not, of course. There would be floor 1 would be the ground floor, the Planta Baja, of course. Then you've got the Primero floor and the second one. So you're on the 2nd floor. So that means the Ferrari press conference is above us.
Yeah.
Yes.
At 7:10.
We are
Right,
definitely floor 2, because that's what button we pressed as Hamilton goes fastest again. With 1:16.976, 2 milliseconds quicker than he had before.
Wow, so you've done all of this, you've talked about all of this stuff for nothing. I'm coming in talking about Charles Leclerc press conference. We miss Hamilton going the fastest time of the day.
Times are not as relevant in testing. So you can sit down if you wish.
They
Otherwise
are.
we'll stand up because you're making us feel uncomfortable now.
I'll do whatever you tell me. I'm
Love it.
I'm
Now, we
your
press
servant.
button 2 in the elevator. That's how we know this is the 2nd floor.
Right, okay.
We've been here a while.
So that is mighty, isn't it? And I know it's only testing. We don't have it's only testing bell up here. I think we should have it.
We'd have been ringing it all day.
Well, I suppose when we see times like these,
it would have been campanologists admiring our technique had we had that bell.
But 3/4 tenths of a second quicker than his teammate, and you can only admire the work that they've done. And as you know, as Toto Wolff, as James Allison says, whether it's the fear of losing, whether it's motivating by themselves, self-motivating, wanting to do the best for each other, driven by each other, I believe was a hashtag towards the end of last year, wasn't it?
It's true, though.
It's true, and you can only take your hat off and wonder where the speed is going to come from either Red Bull or Ferrari. And Ferrari, you did send me away with the task
of finding out
to go and
what the mood is. Yeah.
What the mood is, and I have seen their press officer Sylvia Frangipane, who co-hosted the launch. I thought she did a marvellous job.
She was brilliant, I thought, at the launch on stage, and we were all teasing her at the end, saying that thanks from our children, because we're all going to be put out of a job now, that she was doing such a great job for us.
Yeah, she just came into. She was just touring the media centre, just checking that we all know where the Charles Leclerc press conference is later on. I'm glad I do now. And she was saying, so far so good. So I mean, what we do know about Ferrari is that they will have a major upgrade for Melbourne. Now, that's less so. I'm not saying this Mercedes, they're doing what they did last year, of course, because they're not. This is the test car. And they'll also have bits for Mercedes.
Just hang on 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Rosanna is in the pit lane. Oh, we need to throw to her right now. Rosanna.
Thanks, Crofty. Hello, yes, I've got Claire Williams with me in the Williams garage. It's where you would be normally. But there are 2 cars here. You can hear me now. We're having all sorts of... Oh,
we can hear you.
We can hear you loud and clear, Rosanna.
Just double checking, yeah. Claire, how are you, first of all? And it's so great to see 2 cars in the Williams garage.
Yeah, but most importantly is this one. That's an old car that we've just had here, is doing some collateral photography with. But this is our chassis for this year, and it was brilliant to see it go out first this morning. We wanted to make a real point after last year's dramas that we were here, we were ready to go, and we just wanted to get today done and under our belts. And it's going well so far, so it's good.
What's the mood like? Because I can imagine last year was so disappointing, starting on the back foot. Can you just describe how different it feels today?
Awful lot calmer, as you can probably imagine. Coming in to the garage last night, there were hardly anyone in here because everything was ready to go. And compared to this time last year, obviously, there were like 20 people in the garage trying to get a car ready, and it just wasn't. So it's a whole lot different. But morale's always been as good as it's always been at Williams. We're so lucky. We've just got a great team of fighters here. And I think just for us, for everybody, the very fact that we've learned our lessons and we've done the hard work, now people can start to not enjoy it, because we're certainly not resting on our laurels, but it certainly takes the pressure off these guys here at the track.
And what about Nicholas, obviously fitting into the team? How's he found his first day at the test?
Well, I haven't spoken to him yet, because he's obviously just taken over from George, who ran this morning, so Nicholas is doing this afternoon's work. He's been continuing the test program today, and then I think they're about to go out and do some more aero work as the track temperatures go down a little bit. But, we enjoyed having Nicholas in the team last year. He's such a great guy to have around, and now he's got the real work laid out before him, and he's got to go out there and prove that he deserves his race seat. And, so far he's just kept his head down, and we've just won a day of no dramas. So I hope that we end the day in the way we began it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And what's a target for you this year? What would a successful 2020 season look like?
Progress. we have to make progress. You know, for us, this has always been a journey of getting Williams back to where we want it to get to, and we've been very clear about not setting clear targets. I think it's so difficult to do that, particularly when we don't know where the competition is. So for us, it's about making progress. And I even think, you know, just today, getting the car here, you know, that's another brick in the wall for us, and we've just got to keep going on this road of positivity and driving performance. And obviously, having these 6 days, it's so important for us to carry out the test program that we've got planned, make sure we tick everything off our to-do list so that we're in the best possible place for Melbourne, and just show the world that Williams is here to stay and we're still fighting.
Good. It's good to see a smile on your face, Claire. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Couldn't agree more. I'd like to see lots of smiles at that scene throughout the season.
Yeah, so we should actually point out, we should talk about the new designers. Sorry, were you going to, was Hamilton going for
I think Lewis Hamilton just had a little off actually while we were watching and hearing from Claire Williams. This is just a couple of laps ago as with the DRS opening approaches turn 1, and you can already see that he's going to be running a little wide. But there is a nice strip of tarmac in between the gravel and the racetrack, so that he wasn't penalised too much on that one. So I assume that come the race, yep, he'll have to go to the left-hand side of that bollard and find his way back out of the track again. Right, Ted, designers, Williams.
Well, let's pick up on progress. That I thought was the see with the likes of Racing Point and Haas F1, if they get on top of their car, and you know Alfa Romeo Sauber, Orlen, you know, are they just going to move further ahead of Williams in that midfield? And then how do Williams prescribe progress? How do they prescribe if they're still at the back of the grid? Well, can they make progress?
Timing-wise, have they narrowed the gap?
Absolutely. If they narrow the gap. Now, to help them, they've had a bit of a change on the technical side, and they've brought in a couple of people, David Warner from Red Bull Racing and from Renault, and Jonathan Carter as well. And Claire was talking earlier about how they've integrated themselves in the team. They're very good structurally, and they're getting some good practices in there. I must say, during the winter, I wanted to put some names to faces.
Yeah.
And when you Google David Warner and Jonathan Carter, you get two cricketers. Well, so David Warner is
not the Australian cricketer.
I believe is an Australian cricketer.
As out comes Charles Leclerc again.
And when you Google Jonathan Carter, you get another cricketer.
Man who plays for Barbados.
So I'm pretty sure it's not those two cricketers who are now the new Williams design team.
But that is half the trouble. They're not big names. When they were announced by Williams, a lot of us were saying, right, okay, they're obviously good people. They've got been with good teams, a track record within the sport. But are they the sort of a big name that Williams needed to sign, or do Williams not need to sign big names, but they just need good people who should be given a chance to go that one step, two step up in their career and a more senior position within a team?
Well, they need the next Adrian Newey, don't they?
Yeah.
They need the next Adrian Newey, they need the next James Allison, they need the next Andrew Green, Racing Point, they need the next James Key, they need the next, big thing.
Yeah.
With the best will in the world, they're probably not going to get Adrian Newey, or any of those other guys, unless they want an absolute challenge. So, what do? You get the young guys coming up who want to make a name for themselves, the geniuses of tomorrow who are going to bring that in. And they also do that with their young engineering program, don't they? Williams have got a big engineering academy.
Yes.
That's the word.
They've been very good and almost leading the way in trying to identify young talent. But that's not going to come to fruition for them in a senior role for many, many years to come.
Well, you never know. You never know what great ideas they're going to come up with. And where better if you're a young designer to come up with some crazy stuff. And I'm sure they'll be investing in new technology as well, just to try a few things. There's no downside, is there, if you're Williams? No downside to trying out new talent, new technologies and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a financial side, and maybe the cost cap coming in 21 will help them with that. But I just wonder with Williams whether they're going to be the early bailers out of 2020 in order to prepare for 2021.
It is possible. This is Max Verstappen on his way to turn 7. And, yes, you've got to make an instant decision there if you're not going to make turn 8. Which side of that sausage curve do I really want to go on? And that's exactly what Max Verstappen did there. And didn't try and make the corner because that could have been another spin.
So how do we sum up Max Verstappen's day? Exuberant, delighted to get back at it to the point of throwing it off all over the place, or he knows he's got a quick car, he can feel it, and he wants to do something with it. And
is
is pushing it.
Or he's
It's difficult
pushing,
to
or
read,
he's
isn't it?
pushing too hard. Right, the first one was a mistake on his part. He dropped a wheel into the gravel.
8/10 off.
Is that one him pushing just a little bit too hard at that moment? He's on the C3 tyre as well.
No, but it's one to talk about later, isn't it? How do we read Max Verstappen's day? When you're Hamilton and Bottas, you're leading the pack. When you're Sergio Perez, that's shown that the pink Mercedes, as they're calling it down in the paddock, is as quick as
Mercedes.
the pink
I
Mercedes
told you some
is
teams were getting a bit twitchy about this.
Oh yeah.
one.
Oh, I had a team boss first thing saying just that.
Pink Mercedes.
The pink Mercedes.
And how was that team boss's accent? Was it slightly French?
No.
Oh,
but,
okay. That narrows it down to another 8 then.
I didn't see the
7 even.
I didn't see the French team boss, but I will ask him about it as well. But, well, there's nothing that they're doing that AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso before them weren't doing with Red Bull. The whole of the rear of last year's AlphaTauri was a Red Bull from the previous year.
Now you're saying AlphaTauri?
Yes.
I always thought it was AlphaTauri, but then of course at the launch they became AlphaTauri.
Yes, it is AlphaTauri, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, no, I'm not. This is what testing's all about. You see, we'll iron these problems out. I will go with you if you have been told it is AlphaTauri. But do you still, by the way, have the Ted Kravitz Appreciation Society stickers that you got given by Phil at Silverstone last year? And they can collect this sort of thing.
Somewhere, thank you, Phil. So what were we talking about?
We were talking about Ferrari, and we were talking about Ferrari before Verstappen. He's now gone 4th fastest.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. See, it's only testing. Where was the bell? Ding-a-ling. What a curious day Verstappen's having. Ding-a-ling, it's only testing.
Well, we're all looking for stories from testing, aren't we? We're all looking for a narrative.
Yeah.
And sometimes that narrative isn't necessarily there right from the outset even. Although by the end of the season, sometimes you can work a narrative back and think, oh, how did we miss that one at the time?
Still, you can't argue with 144 laps, can you?
No, you cannot.
But, for Max Verstappen. But, yeah, I mean, will that dispel the old hackneyed F1 wise men say that Red Bull always start the season slowly?
Well, they do.
Well, I don't know that they do. I'm sort of, I tend to disagree with you.
When did they last win the opening race of the season?
Well, all right. That's not a thing, is it? Red Bull starting the season slowly? I mean, they're as quick as
it has been recently, though. Yeah, it definitely feels like it has been recently. Certainly since Vettel disappeared from that lineup, it feels like they've not been the strongest at the start.
Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo was saying this when he was at Red Bull. We need to start the season more strongly. Now, that is a big difference between starting the season slowly and we need to be stronger at the start of the season. But I bet you they would love to have, a win in the first 3 races. When have Red Bull managed that in recent years as well? It's not a criticism. Just look down at the stats on that. But I think they need it. And last year there was a problem with their chassis in the opening races of the season. It was only really, I think, after we came here to Barcelona for the race that they started to sort out that front wing end plate, which was a bit of an Achilles heel at the time.
Yes, I remember saying to Christian Horner, I think I called it at the time, the little aerodynamic problem that you've got. It's scared. But it was something that obviously they didn't start as quick as they would have liked this year, assuming that they'll be, well, on the same pace, quicker than the pink Mercedes. I mean, that would be a big shock. If the pink Mercedes was quicker than a Red Bull, then we'd know something.
Well, there would be more than murmurings down the pit lane.
More than murmurings, yeah. So I don't think we can take, Perez's P3 pace. Although that was done quite quickly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite early on. By the way, I'm having to keep adding this up. Mercedes have still put in more laps than Max Verstappen has in the Red Bull. I know they've split it into 2 drivers, but as impressive as Verstappen's day is, and look, he really is going to feel this day, when he lies on the masseuse's table a little bit later. Mercedes have actually still put in more laps at the moment, and we've got 1 hour and 3 minutes to go. We still have got #no red flag.
It's been brought up again.
You wait. I've basically got about 56 minutes until I start getting really interested in this red flag thing.
Will you be in the box at that point? That's the big question. Will
I be in the box?
Will you
I've been in the box for every single
by
minute of this day. I'm going nowhere, Jakes.
As the pink Mercedes passes us on the straight line as
gonna
well.
use that a
I mean,
lot,
we
aren't
should
you?
say, shouldn't we? I mean, we absolutely should say. First of all, it's definitely more pink than last year, the Racing Point,
Yes.
isn't it?
Well, they've lost. They've cut ties with one sponsor,
Yeah.
and the Austrian water company have now become the title sponsor. So I think it's become a lot more pink
Well,
as a result of
in
that.
terms of volume of pinkness, no, but I
Volume
think
of
the
pinkness.
actual shade of pink seems to be brighter than last year. To my eye, down in the pit lane, it was certainly a more vibrant pink. It's not a hot pink, but it is certainly a brighter pink than in previous.
I wouldn't know a hot pink, to be fair.
Oh.
My Pantones don't exist to a hot pink.
Okay.
But you went to see Dead Mouse. I don't know. Were you wearing hot pink that night?
I wasn't, but I have got 3 daughters, so I know all about hot pink. But yeah, it's certainly more pink. But also, Andy Green was talking earlier to some people. In fact, he was talking to Michael Schmidt, who's written an article online about what they get from Mercedes. And while there's, of course, they're using the Mercedes wind tunnel. The suspension is from Mercedes. The nose is obviously of a Mercedes style, heavily influenced, if I can use that phrase. Once
It
again,
certainly looks that way.
and the rear, the suspension, as we've said. So it shouldn't be a surprise. And if Racing Point, who are the kings of over-delivering on a small budget, punching above their weight, can do better with technology brought in under the rules that you're allowed to do, like Haas have been doing at Ferrari, then good luck to them. And the other teams haven't got anything to complain about.
They were also using Mercedes wind tunnel as well.
Yes, sorry, did I not say that?
Did you say?
I thought
You may have said
Yes,
it.
yes.
I've heard a lot of things today. But although I do believe their wind tunnel team are now fully integrated back at Silverstone, at the base at Silverstone, rather than working, at Brackley. So they've kind of been brought back in again at Silverstone. But look, Haas and Alpha have a technical tie-up with Ferrari. You can go back to the days of Marussia, who had a technical tie-up with McLaren. Alpha Tauri and Toro Rosso before them had the tie-in with Red Bull, and Mercedes and Racing Point at the moment, and Williams, of course, have a bit of a tie-up too, not just with the engine supply. You can argue long into the night as to whether that's good for Formula One or not, but it's one of the things that I think has helped kept the field together a little more. Verstappen just managed to overtake Joel Minardi. He came up, Ted, and gave me another lesson in how to pronounce his surname.
Oh yeah,
I have to do it with an Italian accent, right? Joel Minardi. What's this Vinazzi, he said? Vinazzi.
Have we done rule changes?
We've done some.
We've done a few.
Have we done all?
Would you like to go through the regulation
have we done
changes?
second fuel flow meter?
No, we haven't. So we can do that in 2 seconds. So basically, the changes for 2020, the checkered flag is back, ladies and gentlemen, as the arbiter of the end of the race. After it was shown a lap too early on the display panel last year, no longer is someone going to press the button at the wrong time. It's actually...
And why did we go to the panel?
Because I got it wrong the
Someone
year
waved
before
it early
with the checkered flag.
So someone pressed the button at the wrong time.
But
So we've
in
gone
winning-
back to the flag.
But in winning, I've
Looking
only got
forward to
one
next
job
year.
to do. Harlow's defence there. She was told to
She
go
was
and
told to
but-
wave it. It was definitely not on her.
Not Winnie Harlow's fault.
No, it wasn't. But the checker flag is back. No in-season testing, which is bad news for young drivers who will, though, get at least one day of the post-season Abu Dhabi test. The curfew, Ted, has been made an hour longer, the Thursday and Friday nights.
Yeah.
Shark
So
fins.
now they get 9 hours.
Yeah,
Is
they
that
do.
right?
Proper night's sleep.
That is a proper night's sleep.
And,
So that will help, won't
which
it,
is
with,
good. And shark fins are back to cover these numbers on the engine cover. More rules and regs to come in a moment. Let's hear some team radio first.
Okay, we need to box, So you don't have to do the milling, we need to box, we have to solve something on the rigs.
Coffee boxing.
And that's basically what happens when the driver is told, right, you've got to come in. Yep, no disagreements here. In you come.
Toronto accent, if ever I heard one.
Yeah, it depends on which
Quebecois
website you go on here. Some say Montreal, some say Toronto. He's from Canada, I know that much. Penalties for missing the weighbridge and jump starts have been relaxed. Now,
Right.
I think this is a sensible thing.
The Gasly penalty.
Yeah, so the Gasly penalty from Baku last year, where he was sent to the back of the grid for missing the weighbridge. Now, at the time, that's the way the rule was written, because, and you might think, oh God, it was really draconian, wasn't it? That shouldn't have happened. But had he have been running illegally and we couldn't then run qualifying for whatever reason, and FP3 for whatever reason, that order in FP2 could have made up the grid, therefore that's why that penalty was introduced. Now, the stewards can do a bit of hindsight on this one and say, right, okay, it's going to be a very small penalty because you did get it wrong, but if it then becomes a more serious penalty because there's no P3 in qualifying, then they've got the ability to make it a more draconian one if they want. And jump starts, the penalties have been reduced there for 5 or 10 second race penalties.
That's an interesting run. They seem to relax the rules on jump starts.
Yeah.
Why is that, seeing as it could give you quite a significant gain?
Well, it can, but I suppose if you start too early and stop and then get going again, you've gained really no advantage and you're still going to get a penalty, which was a 10-second stop-go penalty. Now the stewards can say, well, 5-second race penalty. Cause
Is that off the back of Vettel last year in Suzuka?
possibly.
Well, Vettel got away with it, but
Yeah.
Kimi didn't.
Kimi
a couple
did.
of races. I think it was Russia.
Russia? Yeah.
So maybe they're giving themselves a little bit more leeway with that.
No screens in testing, we've covered. Reduction.
Oh, can I just say,
Beautiful.
bravo anybody who had anything to do with that rule change, because it's done two things. First of all, it's made testing accessible to the fans who pay good money to sit in the grandstands, and there are quite a few of them that you can see beyond the hashtag GoMax banners,
those banners
out there, so they can actually see into the garages. And it's also helped the media, and I'm sorry, it is the media, but we like to translate our passion for Formula One, to the fans, and it's defused the tense atmosphere that used to be in the pit lane, that photographers would scramble over each other, be running up and down the pit lane. The moment that screens were gone, put out of the way, sometimes could be dangerous, and it's defused all of that. Everybody has got loads of time to get all the shots they want. All the sponsors have got all the coverage they want. The teams are happier. We're happier. It's just the most fantastic change
It's
to
brilliant.
testing.
And quite frankly, they've been on track more often than they've been in the garage anyway, so they don't need the screens because they've been running around the track for most of it. But I'm with you. I think that's only a good thing. Reduction on metal in the front wing.
This is
to stop incidents where metal touches rear wheel, punctures are received as a consequence.
Yeah, so if we have a look at the front wing end plate on the Ferrari here, you can see, most people were doing this anyway, but there was starting to creep in some parts and little flap elements to the front wing or the front wing end plate that was starting to get in there that could be a little bit more abrasive to a rear tyre if the front wing was near it, and they've just closed that down before it got out of hand.
Brake ducts are now listed parts.
That's to stop
people buying in brake ducts from elsewhere.
Which apparently was starting to get out of hand.
Less electronic assistance at the start. So 90% of the engine's torque at the start is now controlled directly by the drivers, making the driver more responsible for what goes on at the start. And that can only be a good thing. Extra MGUK, which I do agree with. It was nice to think you could get by with 2 for the season. But 9 of the 20 drivers exceeded the MGUK allocation last year. We don't want to see grid penalties. If we can get away with it, you might as well have an extra one.
Yeah, the team say so. This puts the MGUK in sequence with the other hot parts of the engine. So the engine, the internal combustion engine itself, the turbocharger, the MGUH, and it puts the MGUK in par